Hey everybody, what's up? I hope that this year so far, we're wrapping up February, man. Where are you at? Right? We're gonna, but March is coming up. End of Q1. Are you on track with your goals? I hope you are, and hopefully we've been able to help you on the show. If you're new to the show, hey, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. What we do on the show is we break down excellence. We find out from top real estate agents how they build their business, what is working, where's the magic, where are they getting a good return. And look, if you don't sell real estate, don't close it out, because this show is really about entrepreneurship through the lens of an agent. And whether you are a plumber, pie maker, painter, whatever, the stuff we talk about, you can implement in your business. All right. So today's episode is brought to you by Viralcast. Viralcast with a K. It is the only completely done for you podcasting service in existence. And let me tell you why a podcast is so important for you. We are living in a influence economy, okay? And I will tell you for a fact, exposure is the new social capital, right? That's the currency we're dealing with. So the best way to get exposure, build deep connections with your database is through a podcast. The best way to build new connections with influencers in your market is a podcast. And the best way to reach completely new audiences that you would never, ever have access to is a podcast. So look, go to viralcastwithak.com. Check it out. We would love to help you. Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. Yeah. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Today's episode, look, the episodes we've been releasing lately are, a lot of them I did a long time ago. That's all right. It's all good content. Today's episode is different. I recorded this week, and the reason why I'm releasing it right now this week is that I think it's good. Today's guest really talks about building a business through stuff that you can implement right now. It's not fancy, big budget stuff. It is basically hit the bricks. Here's how I spend my day. Here's what I do. Here's how I time block. It's stuff that you can implement. And I love that kind of stuff that you can go, that literally you can, it's not build a big business plan. It is bullet point 1, 2, 3, and you can wrap it up in your business today and literally start making a difference by next week. So I hope you like it. Really quickly, if you have not been to the site, go to superagentslive.com. Get on our mailing list. You don't want to miss future episodes like this one. You can find me on Twitter. You can join the conversation. I'm at Super Agents Live, and I would love to meet you there. All right, that's it. Let's go. Oh, last thing. Hey, our latest project that we're playing with is schoolofprofit.com, School of Profit. And it's our coaching session. Our vision for this whole thing is get you an accountability partner. Number one. Number two, show you step by step the tips and tricks, things that you need to implement, right, in your business. Too many coaches come on and go, oh, you should do this. You should build your database without telling you how. We get into the nuts and bolts of it. So regardless of where you are in your business, go check that out. It's super cheap. Every coach out there charges $1,000 a month, and they want to sign you up for 12 months. We don't do that. It's $99. Quit whenever it doesn't make sense for you. So go check it out, schoolofprofit.com. All right, hey, let's get to the episode. All right. All right.
Absolutely.
Hold on. All right, guys. Today on the show, man, this is a guy that I recently. It was weird. I recently met this guy in person. I think I knew who he was, but I ran into him at an event in Tahoe, and then just so happens next week, again in New Orleans. Today's guest, he's in Ocean City, New Jersey. He's got an interesting sort of background here. Today he's got a team of 7. He's adding people. So right now he's looking for an ISA. He comes in, he trains them, takes you all the way through ISA, buyer's agent, to listing agent. So if you're out in Southern New Jersey, Ocean City, New Jersey, reach out to the guy. If you like him, I don't know. You're going to listen to him for the next hour. Here's his production. During the boom times, this guy's doing about 140 million. And since then, he's bounced around 140, 70 million. Last year, he did 55. He lost a couple people, and now he's rebuilding. I'm thrilled to welcome my buddy, Jeff Quintin. Hey, Jeff, thanks for taking the time out, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Toby. Thank you for having me on. I'm honored, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So look, I've given the audience sort of just a nuts and bolts overview of what you're doing in your business, but I'm curious about who you are. So before we'll get into your business, what you're doing, what you're excited about, but take a minute, tell the audience a little bit about who Jeff Quintin is.
Sure. So I am a father of two daughters and husband. I grew up in pretty much here. Well, I basically moved in Ocean City when I was about around 8th grade or so. So I've been here ever since. And ultimately, right out of high school, got into real estate. So I didn't go to college. I didn't go to any type of school. I virtually worked at a bank after school, and as in the loan department. Then I got a teller job. Got to see the commission checks coming through the window. I was like, well, if that dude can do it, making that kind of money, I can do it. Right. Inspired me. Got my real estate license at 19, and basically I've been in the real estate business now 23 years. So
wow.
Yeah.
So was that it, Jeff? Seriously,
it's been a good ride.
So hold on. So what did your parents do? I mean, did you have entrepreneurship in your veins? Did you see that, or was it literally just you seeing those commission checks?
Well, no, I think there was part of entrepreneurship in my veins. See, my father had always, my mom and dad, they were stayed married for about 31 years, 30 years or so. Right out of high school, they actually split. So for my, most of my adult life, they were together. Most of my childhood life, they were together. And then, it's interesting, my grandfather was an entrepreneur and owned a bunch of roller skating rinks here in the East Coast. And my father had worked for him and had to go manage these roller skating rinks. And my dad was kind of doing everything. He would do the sound system, the signs, he would do the flooring, he would do the whole thing, and then he would manage these rinks. But ultimately, he would have to move around, and whatever rink at the time, again, think about this. This is in the 70s and 80s, and roller skating was really, really happening. You know what I mean? That was cool back then. And I grew up in that era. So as a little kid. So anyway, they my parents had to jump around a little bit and moved to different cities, whatever rink at the time. I think my grandfather owned about 10 at one time. He would have to go in and manage them. But my dad really never got any real ownership. He was on the management side. Always strived to have ownership. He had got some ownership in one, but then the rink it wasn't doing really well. So my dad was always pretty much in that type of business, and then he left and went into the sign business and was always self-employed. So I always had the kind of the mentality of what you put in is what you get out. And I really didn't have a desire to go to school. I always wanted to be in business for myself. And then as part of that, I always seemed to have a little bit of the gift of gab as far as the talk. And if I was, I was the type of kid, and I've heard this on your podcast from other guys before, if I was playing baseball or something and we had to go sell candy bars, well, I was the kid that would go and say, well, give me a whole case of them, and I would go door knock on the door and sell every one of them. And I'd come back, and I was a kid who said, give me more, I'll go out and sell more. So I never, as a kid, I really didn't have any fear as far as going to talk to people.
And okay, so that's good. I mean, your DI or ID.
Yep.
So where do you think that came from, Jeff? I mean, do you think that's and this is curious to me because it comes when you think of, or when I think of entrepreneurship, I've had some people come on the show and go, look, you can't teach it. It's in your blood. And I think the same thing for that level of outgoingness. Was that somehow developed in you, or were you just like that from like grade 2?
I mean, I think part of it was in me, and then the second part of it was developed just from watching and being around it, and also kind of knowing that, what my parents kind of taught me was, look, if you're not going to go to school, then you better get out there and hustle. You better get out there and do it on your own. So I'm not, just like you say, I'm not sure you can teach hustle. Yeah.
I agree. I 100% agree. Okay. All right. So you go to a bank, you ended up in a bank, and look, so talk to me about this because, one of the things that most people, especially young people, at least today, everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to have a prestigious job. And today there is a little bit of prestige around real estate, but not then. So what was it? Just the checks that pushed you in this direction, or was it the fact that there's low barrier to entry and you always wanted to work for yourself? Give us a sense of why you got into there, and then we'll get into how you managed it.
Yeah, so I what was interesting, one is I worked at the bank, and so I got to see the interactions of real estate, how it was working. I work in the loan department, so that was on the back end side of just that side of as far as loans that the bank was doing. Got to see the checks. But, in my marketplace where I live now, I live on an island 7 miles long by 1 mile wide, and there's not a whole lot of there's no big corporation, or there's no real big economic drive as far as, jobs and all kinds of stuff. So real estate here where I live, and especially being in a resort town, and a resort market was big. And whether you have a mom and pop type of business, or maybe you're a merchant on the boardwalk or downtown, those type of businesses thrive, or you're in real estate. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot other than the casinos in Atlantic City. So maybe it was just one of those things I felt that, real estate for me in this area, real estate for me in this marketplace is a place that I can make a ton and make a fortune and make a living from.
Right.
So
okay, got it.
I think that it all combined. Yep.
Totally makes sense. I mean, so it's either you could be on the boardwalk and have like some a cotton candy machine. You're like, I don't do that. All right. So you get into real estate now. Look, if I do the math, and I go back 23 years, like you said, that takes me somewhere around 1997. Is that accurate?
92. I started 92, 93.
92.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you this, because this is, I either talk the people that have been in the business. You're a young guy, right? You are in your 40s, early 40s. Okay. Most of the people that have been in the industry as long as you, they're old, man. They're crazy old, and most of the time they're in a lot of ways irrelevant. They don't have anything to teach. So, just give us a quick overview of like how you see the difference. Here's what I really want to get at. And when it comes to opportunity, the world of real estate is completely different from 92 to 2016 in terms of opportunity for those people that are just getting their license, that are listening to you right now. How would you categorize opportunity from today if you're getting in as opposed to when you got in 92?
Well, it's a totally, I think, as you mentioned, totally different. I mean, here's what's interesting. Here's what you need to know, I think, and here's the nuts and bolts of what's going on today versus where it was then.
Okay.
Where it was then is you could get into real estate and succeed by ultimately really just showing up at the office and being one of those agents that participated in floor time. See, back then you had a bunch of signs on the street. Either you had them or your office had them, and then you didn't have the IVR systems. You didn't have all this, you didn't have cell phones back then. I mean, maybe I had a bag phone or something, but we had pagers and stuff, but really not a whole lot. So, there was really no internet, no internet at all, no email. So, back then you would get people who would walk into the office. You would get people that would call in on newspaper ads, magazine ads. You would get people calling in on signs. And so you could sit in an office ultimately, as long as you know the inventory and showed up, certainly maybe get a few sales a year, whichever it would be, because people will come to you. So now today in the industry, it's different. I mean, obviously, if you don't have the skills and mindset, the hard work and ethic to be there and to do what needs to be done, and to learn how to become a listing agent, you just simply aren't going to survive, in my opinion. See, the industry today and the way it's set up is, people are not coming to you. You need to go out and find them, unless you have the ability that you're brand new and you can go buy the business. Now, if you come in and you have a budget of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month out the get-go, then sure, you can go ahead and buy leads and the business, they will come to you. Most agents today that are brand new don't have that ability, don't have that kind of money to spend or a budget. So today it's all designed around that, if a listing agent, they put their own signs out there, they have their own internet marketing, and any calls that come in are directed direct back to the listing agent, bypassing the office completely. They have their own custom IVR, they have their own custom number on their sign, call capture, everything's out there. So totally different from where it was today. The good news is today, if you learn how to position yourself, knowing what to say, how to say, when to say, through scripts and prospecting and lead generation, and become a listing agent so the listings actually drive buyers back. If you learn that set of skills and mindset, you can make a fortune. But back then it was different. You needed to learn all those skills, but it was just a different way about it.
Okay, perfect. Well, I mean, look, we got you to where we needed to be, right? You said, hey, if you know the skills, you have the mindset, you have the hustle. So let's talk about those. Let's talk about what you need to develop, what you need to have in terms of skills, and then we can talk about mindset. But how would you categorize that? What do you think? I know you mentioned scripts and dialogues. Like, what are the skills that again, that newer, or not even newer, man? I mean, you're in a whole different bucket because. Hold on. Let's talk about the skills and we can talk about processes, right? Because you can have the skills, but there's no way you're going to turn out your kind of numbers, whether it's 50 million or 100 million, without the processes. So what are some of those skills that you see out there that people need to develop or that people are lacking?
Well, I mean, so there's a whole different set of skills from the time management portion of your day, right? So time management itself being skillful there. Understanding the process as far as scripts and learning the scripts and dialogues and objection handlers. That's so important. Understand that whole set of skills. Then you got the negotiation skills. Then you got, obviously, if you're going to be a listing agent, the skill of knowing how to price property properly. And so you got to track your numbers. There's all these different skills that need to happen today to be able to do big business. And then you got to obviously understand, have some goal setting and some motivation, and why you're doing it, so you can have all these skills, but what's behind you, what's driving you, what's going to get you to jump out of bed, get your feet on the ground right away, what's that burning desire that you have there. So, the thing is, when I'm teaching my guys on my team that come over here and work for me or on the team, work together, is the fact that they've got to know what to say, how to say, and when to say, and they've got to be scripted, and they've got to be sharp. They need to know their objections. And I need to be able to call them at 4 o'clock in the morning at random and say, hey, right now do your expired script, and I need them to do it immediately right that second. Now, if they can do it at that level, they're going to succeed. If they can't do it at that level, it's not, if they haven't honed that skill and they don't know it inside of them, today the competition's too strong that's out there today. So they've got to learn their scripts and learn what to say, at that level, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go back. I mean, and again, I want to unpack that a little bit more, but you said something pretty critical, right? If you don't know what, you have to have all these skills, right? I won't go through them again, but scripts, dialogues, management, negotiation. But you said, if you don't know your why, like why you're, if you don't know that, why you're jumping out of the bed in the morning, you're not going to succeed. So this is a question that I get asked plenty. And I want to know how you handle it. But, how does someone develop or how does someone learn their why?
So, I mean, it's a great question because a lot of people haven't learned that and they don't understand it just yet. I think the couple of things they need to look at is, and this is one thing I always share with my guys on my team. I say there's 3 things you need to write down every single year. And I went back, beginning of this year in their business plans and asked them their 3 most important goals for the year. What are those 3 highest, most important goals? But the 3 categories we talk about, we always say is, what are places you want to go, things you want to have, and things you want to do? Write down the top 5 things in each category. Places you want to go, things you want to have, and things you want to do. And looking at those, you might say, okay, well, these things are what I always want to accomplish in life. So then you start to look at those maybe top 5 things in each category and starts to maybe trigger something inside of you that says, you know what, this is what's important to me. This is where I want to go. Maybe this is the reasons why I'm doing what I need to do. But kind of get focused on those 3 categories and then go deep inside of them. Maybe you want to write 20 things in each one, whichever it may be. But that's a place to start.
Do you find when you're doing that with I'm sure, Jeff, that when you onboard people, most of look, A players look for A players, B players look for C. You're an A guy, and I know you look for other A players. Do you find that when you run your people through this process, that their beliefs or what they want, like what they think they can do, is limited because they just haven't seen it in real life? They might say, I want to make $100,000 because they can't imagine that. Whereas you and I go, $100,000, like you should be making that every month.
Yes. Yeah, no, without a doubt. Everybody's very limited in their beliefs. And unfortunately, it's just because they've never been taught it. It's never been taught how to believe or how to think or how to expand much more because of the environment they're in. I mean, it's the environment and who the people and who they surround with and the exposure that they have. I think that's all it comes down to. And then when they come to you and I, they sit down and say, wow, okay, there's a whole different level out there of thinking and a whole different level of being exposed. So I'm always, sharing with my guys every single day, either a certain thought, video, books to read, exposing them to different conferences, just different people to see, hang out, the different crowds, getting them outside of their box.
Right. Okay. And I'll tell you, Tom Ferry, one of the things, and I've heard this a billion times. I've heard it from Tom, and I heard from other people. He's usually, what Tom does, he'll make you go through this thing. How much do you want to earn this year? And he'll just go add a zero to it. Like whatever the number is, just add a zero to it. And I don't know if that works. I really don't. But it's an interesting, it's an interesting thing to do, I guess. Do you do anything like that, Jeff, for your people to kind of help them think bigger?
Yeah, I mean, so and I know, and again, I'm friends with Tom and Tom for a long time, and so Tom's thoughts and the rest of a lot of these world-class coaches out there, they're just really expand your thinking. They're trying to stretch you a little bit, and same with Grant Cardone and his 10X book. I mean, so same thing, whatever that is. So if you want to do 100 transactions this year, all right, well, 10X that. You know what I mean? Do it 10 times that, and then build your business out. What's that look like? What does it look like if you did 10 times whatever that goal may be, and then start from that 10 times out, whether it's, okay, I want to make, think about it. If I want to make 100,000, well, 10 times that's $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. So somebody who's thinking $100,000, you say, okay, well, put another zero on it, or however many, whatever zeros that ends up being. But ultimately, 10 times it's $1 million. Well, it's a different conversation if he works back from $1 million and then builds the business plan out to that versus to 100. That'll stretch that person's mind beyond they could ever imagine.
Right. And I think, Jeff, and I don't want to get this conversation too derailed, but I what I think that does is the 100, if you were thinking $100,000, you could easily just go, okay, lead generation, I can do that. I can roll the numbers back in. I only need to do 30, 40, 50 transactions or maybe 10 transactions, this year. But when you're thinking $1 million, you don't start at lead generation. You started going, I need to get like admin. I need to get support staff in place. It's just completely different places to start.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So you onboard these people, you run them through, you help them think a little bit bigger. And then what are the skills you think that are most important? I mean, time management versus scripts.
Yeah. I mean, I think that in both. I mean, right now we sit down and we build a schedule out, make sure that the schedule is in alignment to what their goals may be. And, the schedule must have at least 80% of their day in income generation activities. And so we make sure that when they come on, my team, that's where they're spending their time. It's all about, what's the most valuable asset we have, right? That's our time. So I'm very, 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 very strict on schedule, and that's one thing that my team understands and knows, that they've got to lead generate every single day, every single morning for the rest of their life if they're going to be on my team. That's just part of the job. That's part of what they do. Okay.
So if you are pretty disciplined with your time, right? You focus on it because it's money is a completely renewable resource. Time is not. Tell us, maybe walk us through a little bit, Jeff. What does your typical day or typical week look like?
So my typical day, it arranges sometimes in the morning before work a little different because whether I'm taking the girls to school or not. But I go to the gym. I've got 3 days a week at gym at 6 o'clock trainer. So I'm usually up around 5:10, 5:15, doing a little bit of work at home or whatever I got to do, an email. I'll start on the computer there, get a couple of things out, and then I go to the gym, come back, and then I maybe drive the girls to school. I have to be there by 7:30 or so. And then I'm back basically at the house and getting ready for work, and then I'm back here in the office. And when I get in the office, I'm still prospecting. I'm still lead generating. I'm still active, in production itself for me on my team at the moment. And so I'm on the phone prospecting. Pretty much I'm on the phone lead generating really all day. That's just what I do and have done, and I enjoy that. And but ultimately from, say from 9 to 1 o'clock, 4 hours a day, I prospect each day. And then from there, I return calls, and then everything from 2 o'clock on is appointment time, or anytime I'm going to negotiate any contracts that come in that I need to negotiate or whatever, I'm involved in at that point. And if I don't have any appointments that day or negotiating anything, then I'm back on the phone, setting listing appointments and so forth. And I've got a listing partner, David, that also I pass a lot of this stuff over to for him to take care of.
So this is kind of a self-interested question for me, Jeff, because, you know, I would love to be prospecting. I would love it. I almost never do it. I seriously, I almost, but I'm on the phone all day long, and it's, you know, I'm on the phone with, you know, I don't know. I don't know sometimes like how I spend my time, but I'm always on the phone. And I feel like the people who call me, like, I feel like I need to talk to them. You know, these are current clients or past clients or whatever, and I'm helping them. I'm building a deep relationship with them, which is great. But I don't have. How do you manage that? I mean, because after 23 years, you have a giant list of past clients. You have a giant list of people who you have a team. You have all these people that want a piece of your day. They want a piece of Jeff. How do you firewall that off in order to stay? You know, what'd you say? You prospect for 3 hours a day?
Yeah, every day. I mean, minimum of 4 hours, you know, from 9 to 1 each day. So, you know, I've got good staff as far as, you know, kind of gatekeepers that are there from getting to me, and I've got great admin, so I'm not involved in the admin side of the business, and they know that. I mean, the expectations are there. They know not to try to call me at 11 o'clock in the morning or text me and for something goofy or whatever. I'm not going to answer it, and they just know they won't get a reply. So I've got people surrounding around me that's protecting me all the times as far as that. And you know, my clients, I mean, certainly they're going to try to call me or email me and want to get at me in the times when I'm unavailable. But most of the time they're going to call the office, you know, so they're not. I don't really have that much, you know. I don't know. It's weird. I don't really have that much attacking me a little bit. I mean, I've got calls today on my cell phone I still haven't gotten back to yet. But I've been disciplined enough to know that I've got to take care of what's most important to me first, and that's my lead generation prospecting first, and then everything else can wait, you know. So
yeah.
I'm very, very disciplined with that.
Yeah, that's good, man. I need to be better at it. I don't want to start talking about me on this thing. Okay. All right. So look, I want to ask about this. Like, so you mentioned twice, you know, you get up, you go to the gym, you have a trainer, and I'm sure that, you know, keeps you accountable. But you said you drive the girls to school. Is that why do you do that? And is it because you want to, like, are you trying to enhance that dad-daughter relationship, or is it just a mere function of, you know, I take him to school?
No, I mean, I look forward to that. I mean, sometimes like in the morning like that, so I'll get up and leave and I won't see them because they'll be getting ready for school. I'll come home, my wife will have them all ready to go, and then basically, then a lot of times she'll leave to go to the gym, so either she'll say, hey, do you want me to take the girls because I'm going to the gym? I'll drop them off on the way. I'll be like, no, I'll take them, no problem. So a lot of times I look forward to that because we have different conversations on the way to school, and we do affirmations together on the way to school every day. We chant affirmations. That's just part of what we do. That's just part of it. So I look forward to that part. It's not just about driving in the school. It's about seeing what they're up to, how their day's looking, what's important in that day, what are they going to accomplish that day. You know, just in general conversation that I have. But we also integrate a little bit of you know, affirmations on the way, and you know, just to make sure they start their day off right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. I for some reason, Jeff, in this conversation, like a lot of the stuff you're saying is like resonating with me personally, right? Because I don't do that. I don't take my kids to school, but even when I do, especially in the morning, like I can't get my head out of business. You know, I can't. It's hard for me to park that than to listen to my second grader talk about the stuff he talks about. Anyhow, all right.
I mean, well, here's what's cool about it. Here's what I realized about that portion of this. So, I mean, again, my girls are 9 and 11, so 4th and 6th grade. But I've been doing this with them since, you know, like your daughters and children are. Wait, you have 2 daughters?
No, I have 13, 11, and 7. And I was thinking about my 7-year-old, my second grade stuff he talks about.
Got it. Okay, so you got 3. Okay, so yeah, so my girls were little, from, you know, kindergarten and all the way up. We'd always do affirmations every day. But what was recent is, and these girls are killing it right now. I mean, they're both getting total straight A. I think Julie got all straight A's. Ella got all straight A's and 1 B. They're just making distinguished honor rolls, and they've been doing this for a long time now. But what's cool is, most recently, I think Ella said to me, she said something like, you know, gosh, Dad, I'm getting all A's, you know, and I got 1 B, but I guess these affirmations are really working. You know, it's just like she realized that after affirming to herself that she's smart and that she gets straight A's, and then all that's part of her affirmation. She says it just shows up for her, you know. So it's starting to click for them right now, understanding we've been doing this for so long that what they say to themselves is starting to actually happen. They're believing it at that conscious level. So, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. That's super cool. And look, for everybody that's listening right now, I hope nobody's rolling their eyes going, hey, Toby and Jeff are talking about little kid stuff. This is real. Like, this is stuff that I don't care if you're 13 or 36. Like, this what Jeff is doing with his kids, like, can help you. All right. So going back, okay, so you're a very disciplined guy when it comes to time management. We all know, like, I think it's awesome. Let's talk about that 80%. I want to talk a little bit more about time blocking or time management, and then we can move on to some of these other pieces. You said that when somebody joins your team, they need to spend 80% of their time on income generating activities. That's pretty much like all their day in one bucket. Like, how did you come up with that 80%, and what, maybe can you give us some bullet points of what that means to you, income generating activities?
Yeah, so income generating activity is they're going to go out and they're going to prospect, they're going to lead generate, or they're going to be either inbound or outbound calls. They're going to be calling expireds, for sale by owners, just listed, just sold calls, calling around, circle prospecting. They're going to call my database of our clients we currently have, and that's all broken down between an A client, double A, top 100, VIP type clients, all mixed in there. They're going to be, on the phone pretty much all day long. And they want to start out, so they're going to come to my team. They're going to start out as an ISA ultimately in that position. That's their only job. Their job is to talk to a lot of people, set appointments, and be on the phone. And then once they go through that process, at the end of that process, say of 6 months, they're going to be in such a good habit, such a good role, that when they transition over to an agent, then they're going to learn they're going to continue to do that. Instead of them teeing up appointments for the team members, now they're going to be teeing them up for themselves. But it's going to get them in that role of a habit, get them in a role of understanding how to lead generate to survive. So that's ultimately what my team does and needs to do each and every day. So if they're in here at 9, they're going to be on the phone till basically at least till 3 o'clock every day, which is about 80% of the day. And the next 2 hours, they're going to be doing any admin work or follow up or appointments or whatever they might need. But the majority of the part of their day is going to be lead generation in those categories.
And is that time? Is that? I'm sure you've played around with this because you can say, hey, you're going to spend X amount of hours on the phone, or how the position you've taken, you're going to spend 80% of your day, income producing activities. But you could also tie it to results. Have you found that somehow, like, tying it to 3 appointments a day, or as opposed to 80% of your time, like, have you found that to be less effective than just saying 80% of your day is going to be on this bucket of work?
Well, so we got very intentful, I guess, or intention in as far as what we expect each day. So each morning at 8:15, also part of this morning ritual, is we all have a huddle, right? So our sales team gets on a huddle, and we're going to declare where we are within the month as far as the goals for the month. Where are you in relation to that goal? And then what are you going to do that day to get closer to that goal? And then you're going to state out loud specifically what it is that you want to do. Okay, so it might be that, okay, my intention today and goal is to talk to 30 people, 30 contacts, and set 2 appointments and get 1 contract signed. So that's going to be, say that's Kevin on my team. That's going to be his goals. And I'm going to ask him, well, specifically who are you going to call and what are you going to do to get that contract signed? And what does that look like? I'm going to dig a little deeper. I'm going to go a little bit further, as far as, scuba diving, if you will, into that, and then find out and say, okay, good. That sounds good, man. Go get them. Next person will go. Next person will go. So in the morning, we're going to state our goals for the day, where we already are, and what we're going to do to get closer to that inside of that 80% of that day.
Okay. And are you the primary? I can ask this a bunch of different ways, but really, here's what I want to know, Jeff. You guys are very structured. Very intentional with all the stuff that you do. Are you the primary, like, accountability partner, or do you somehow team the team up with each other to have them keep one another accountable to their own goals and aspirations?
Yeah, I'm still primarily that main leader of the team, keeping them together. However, the team itself does have its own accountability within each other as well. If you show up in that huddle call, if you're 3 minutes late, you buy lunch for the entire office.
Holy smokes! Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So the moment if somebody's just late, they get on 8:18 and they miss that. There's a text coming from every single person of the sales team to them, like, hey man, where were you? What happened? And they're going to ride them. You know what I mean? And they're going to, okay, well, you're buying lunch that day, and that's just what it is. So they keep each other accountable that way as well. But ultimately, I'm still the guy that's going to say, okay, tell me your goals, what's going to do. I'm running that part.
Okay. All right. Well, so look, I mean, you're on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. Again, we've talked about all the stuff that you can do to be successful in your career and in business. Where do you see low hanging fruit in moving forward in 2016?
Low hanging fruit as far as in the production side of the business right now.
Yeah.
The low hanging fruit. Well, okay. So low hanging fruit for me is really working your database and your past client center of influence.
Yep. Okay.
In itself, because I think that, if you're looking for long-term in this business and you want to be able to have a lot of referrals, people take their eye off that a little bit. And I think that's industry-wide. Sometimes they sell a home and they never talk to the client again, which just blows my mind away. So low-hanging fruit is keeping the relationships together, supporting them, being a resource, creating yourself as a real estate expert to your database and people that you know. And those are where you're going to start to get those come list me calls and build that database and feed it, and stay in touch with it, is always good. Low hanging fruit also, obviously, I work a ton of expired listings. That's very low hanging fruit for us. Listings that failed to sell, we call all the time, set appointments, and take a ton of expireds. So those two categories, past clients and influence, referrals from that group, really working that. At a very deep level, and expired listings as far as on the the sources.
Yeah. So look, I would want to and again, not every market has expires. I'm here in San Diego; they just don't exist. I mean, I think most of California they don't exist. I 100% agree with you on your database, and we were both at Keller Family Reunion last week. And Gary got up on stage in his keynote and said, hey, he very much keyed in on this. He said, listen, and I just talked about it yesterday on the show, your database is your business. However, Jeff, most people are not deliberate about building it. Can you talk to that fact of building your database and how to go about it and then how to mine it as you move on?
Yeah, so that's one thing about my team and I think that we we stress on as far as building a database. So every single day we're adding people to our database. There's not one day that goes by. And I'm always continuing to look for different groups, different ways to add a database, an email database, to communicate to it through different software systems where I'm positioning myself through drip campaigns and triggers inside of it. I use Infusionsoft to be able to communicate to my database and know pretty much watching the click patterns of the database, people, what they're doing inside, making sure that they're lead scoring themselves and kind of bubbling up, and then it's sending me back notifications on when to call them. That's a little bit more technical what's going on there, but ultimately, we're continuing to always feed the database. I'll give you one example, and this should apply to mostly everybody in your audience and listen to this, whether you're in New York City and you have a condominium building of 100 units, or you're in say San Diego where there's a community, where there's a gated community, where there's some type of HOA, right? There's a lot of that around the country. And so I am in what I would call more of the database building business than just in the listing business. And what I mean by that is this, is that, if you're working inside of a community, whether it be a high-rise condominium or a gated community of homes, let's say there's 100 units in there too, and there's an expired listing, or someone that lives in there, I'm going to go for those listings in there. But when I get that listing, the very first thing I'm going to say to that homeowner is that either I've misplaced my homeowners directory, and I was wondering if I could borrow theirs, and I'm going to adopt and take that homeowners directory from that homeowner and mark it to them, and I'm going to get that information. Now, the key to that is that, okay, that one commission on that listing may be a $12,000, $13,000, $15,000 commission, but the homeowner's directory behind it might pay me $15,000 for the rest of my career every single year.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for that database every single time to whomever I'm calling and trying to figure and find out how I can get more people to add into my system.
That is a great strategy, man. Yeah, I love that. So what are you doing? Here's where I see most people falling down. Realtors falling down, for sure. I mean, this is 99% of people. We all have a website. We all are getting traffic at varying degrees, right? And again, and some of it is earned traffic, right? Because all traffic we either earn or we buy. But when people, you're having these people in the market hit your website, but there's fundamentally no mechanism for you to try to capture their email address. Are you doing anything different in terms of online, which again, I don't, I would call, passive database growth?
Yeah. So, so we have different triggers, different ways of capturing and pulling people in, whether it be a regular home value widget, you know what I mean, where you go to my site and you want to request what the property value is. Obviously,
Okay.
a lot of people have those.
Yep.
On my site, everywhere you go, there's, it allows, like, if you, again, through my buyers portion of the site, it's going to, once you start the search, it's going to capture you to make you sign up in there. But ultimately, one of the things that we do, again, with all of my team processing each day, and for example, let's say we're making 200 contacts every single day as a team, we're going to be on the phone and we're going to ask those clients, as we're specifically talking to them, that we're going to have a script that's going to say something like, depending on who they are, what they are, if they're an expired or if there's someone, we're going to say, basically, we're going to go ahead and send you our marketing plan to show you what we do differently than the last agent you had. So tell me, what's your email address? I'm going to ask them for their email, but I'm going to ask it in a way like I'm just commanding it. So in many cases, they're going to give it to me. Then from there, I'm going to take the information. I'm going to go ahead and put it into my Infusionsoft drip campaign. I've got drip campaigns for every single different you name it, different source. If you come into my system as a buyer, you're going to have a 24-month buyer drip campaign for 24 months straight. It's going to in itself in the beginning, it'll be like the 10 days to pain kind of thing, and then it'll end up, kind of feathering itself out maybe once a month for the next, rest 20 months out or whatever it would be, and then it's going to flip and start all over again. So once you come into my system, you're kind of in there and then you're trapped, and then once you're in there from there, we're going to have different triggers that if you click on, for example, if you engage in email number 1 and you watch the video in email number 1 and you complete that, then there's going to be another email that's going to be triggered out, and you're going to get email number 2, 3, 4. And if you watch all of those, and I'm watching you do that, I'm watching the engagement on how much you're consuming it. And if you do, say, 2, 3, and 4, it's going to then send a trigger to me and my team and say, hey, Joe Smith entered your system last week, and they've completed 3 of the 16 different links. And I know that when they send me that link, it tells me that that buyer's consuming the information, and I need to call them right away. So, we're using all kinds of things like that to capture them, and then ultimately position ourselves as the expert, but communicate to them with some good, valid, good content. That's free.
Yeah. No, that's good, and that is obviously. So that's an Infusionsoft thing. That's way above most people's pay grade to be able to.
Yeah.
So, I think that's awesome.
But it happens from when you actually have a database. It doesn't matter what type of system you use. If you don't have the frickin' database and not working towards it and towards building it, then there's no reason to have anything else, right? But our sites all have it. But it's part of my script. It's part of what we do. We ask for it. And not having it's not like a widget on the website. It's our voice and our script asking for it, and then we're getting it.
Okay. And just one last thing on that, Jeff, is it when you communicate with your database, obviously I can send you just a regular old email and telling you about, why we're great at expireds, or I can send you a video. How are you playing with video versus and audio and versus just text?
We have a ton of it. It's all mixed media all the way through. A lot of video, yeah. So if you come into my email, if I kick off an expired email campaign to you, you're going to get 8 emails from me in the first 18 days. The very first email is a video, and you're probably mixed in there. It's probably 3 or 4 different videos of us in there as well, mixed in and different triggers and all. So there's a lot of video that's going on there.
All right. I know I just said one last question, but this may be the no. But so here's the problem, man. So people are listening to you right now, and they're like, "I'm sold. I need to do that." And they're going to put thought into how to build their database, and they're going to put thought into how to mine it like Jeff Quintin. But it invariably, at least the feedback that I get, people go, "Crap, Toby, I just sent him an email on Monday. I can't send it. When I need to wait a week before I send them another email, and certainly you don't do that. How do you allay those fears of over communicating with that person that you just added to your database?
Well, I guess, here's the thing. I guess there's 2 thoughts to it. One is, do you lose more deals by not communicating enough, or do you lose more deals by over communicating? I think the question is that you lose more by not communicating enough, right?
Yep.
And in addition to that, you got to look at make sure that the consumer or the person that you're communicating to. Once you got to come from their perspective or their side and say, what is it that I want, and then feed them or give them what the consumer wants, so that they feel that what you're sending them is good value. And if you continue to provide good value, they're not going to get want to opt out of your stuff.
Right. Yep.
So we're always, we're just continuing to build our database. I got my database now to 57,000.
Jesus.
And yeah. So and I'm building it. Like I just brought in 30 more thousand. I was at 24,000 or so for a long time, and was able to finally get through a lot of different systems and so forth. That was a clean list and all that kind of stuff. Just to, these are Mets and not Mets as well. It's all mixed in, but that's how big that I'm looking to grow it. And I think, like what Gary said, you got to have a big database. You got to have a big database. And I would challenge everybody here, whatever your database is right now, find a way to double it.
And look, I would agree with that as well, because I kind of default to more of an internet marketer, regardless of how people think about that. And I don't do a good enough job of emailing my list as I should. Let me ask you this one. So there's some people out there listening right now going, yeah, I hear it, but you know what? I want to build a referral repeat business, and all I want is like my 100 true fans. I want to have 100 true fans, and I can have and there's people that this is a strategy for people. What would you say to that person?
So repeat the question. Make sure I'm right.
Sure, let me set that up. So there are coaches out there. There's a guy named Rick Ruby. I don't know if you know Rick. He's a crazy man. Yeah. Okay, but Rick will say, listen, you don't need a database, Toby. All you need is 100 true fans or 100 really close past clients, and you get to know them well. You take them out to lunch, and that's your whole business. Right, that's his whole thing, and a lot of people that, especially the people who are not DIs like you and I, will go, well, that's a lot more comfortable for me to build friendships with 100 people. I don't need to have this database. How would you?
So again, it depends on how big you want to be, and see, there's two groups out there, right? There's the people that you know, and there's the people that you don't know, and so of the two groups, which larger? See, if you're only willing to talk to the people that you know, you're never going to grow and become big. You're only going to talk to surround that little group, that 100 people, and yes, you'll be able to cultivate, and it'll be good, and maybe you'll get some referrals from it, whatever it may be. But why not have the 100 people over here on the right that you can cultivate and do all that kind of stuff, and then develop a system on people that you don't know, and then develop them, and then get them and feed them back into another database and talk to those people just like you talk to the 100 people that you do know.
Right.
So I think, in my opinion, you've got to work both sides of it.
Yeah.
And if you want to be able to grow and get big. Otherwise, if you only are willing to talk to people that you know, that group's small compared to everyone you don't know.
Right, 100%. And with that 100 people, that takes time. Whereas with you build your database, you can sit down and craft all those emails, and you can market to that group, and it doesn't take you any time because it's just all automated. So I agree with you, man. You can do it at both at once, and why wouldn't you? I wanted to address that because there are people out there thinking that right now as they listen to you. All right. So look, man. I think this so far has been a great episode. I think that there's a lot of value that people have gotten out of this. I'm going to ask you something I sometimes ask, and sometimes I get good answers, and most of the time I don't. But Jeff, what's something I should have asked you but I didn't?
So let's see. What's one thing that you haven't asked that you should ask me? So I would say that in the real estate business, in the real estate world, right, looking at being consistent, and we talked about it a little bit, but I've been doing it a long time now, right, 23 years, going on 24 years, and I've seen a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but I'm very, very strict on, obviously, my schedule and being very consistent in what I do day in, day out, and haven't let off the gas. People have said to me, man, I know you prospect, you lead generate every day. And I haven't missed a day of prospecting since September 11, 2001. Okay, so 9/11, I was sitting in my office. I was actually in a conference room because at the time I didn't have like a prospecting area, or it was like a normal bullpen type environment. But I went in the conference room. I put a countertop in there, and I used to have one single phone and dial in from that. And then I was actually interrupted at the time, and which they know not to interrupt me during that time. That said, hey, you might want to just quit calling right now. Go turn the TV on. There's a TV on in the kitchen in the office at the time, and check out what's going on. And I heard a plane had crashed into, towers. And then so that was really, since that day, that was the only day that I had never really completed prospecting. Since then, I've been consistent and prospected every single day, and I don't miss. You know what I mean? So, if you said to me, what's one thing that maybe you didn't ask? What's been the driving force for the length and the term that I've been doing this? It's been being consistent every single day in prospecting.
Wow. Okay. So then let me. So you've not letting off the gas. So what drives you, man? Why are you driving so hard?
So, I mean, for me, there's several different things. I mean, I'm still young. Obviously, got a lot of energy left. I have a goal basically to go out to age 50, and then I want to be able to be in a position to turn the machine off financially. And then at that point, my girls are just about graduating high school and college, and then my wife and I can pretty much, go and do what we want, and I just have a very strong goal to be financially free and have freedom, at that point. So that's what's driving me. And you know what? Look, I'm very, like you, man. You're into cars, you know what I mean? So I love cars. In front of me on my dream board, I've got the Aston Martin Rapide in front of me, the four-door, that's $250,000. You know what I mean? I got a Bentley right here, I have a Rolls with a surfboard hanging out the back of it. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what? Who gives a crap? I want to put my surfboard in the back, on the back seat, hanging out because I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And I've got the boats, I've got the planes, I've got the Ferraris and the Lambos and all that stuff, right? So it's all here. These are all kinds of things that I want and dream about and have fun with and travel and all that. So that those are the things. But ultimately, having freedom and having options, that drive me. And then being part of Go Abundance, which we're part of, really getting the horizontal part of income into my life. I've had great vertical, and I've not been very good over the years in horizontal. But now I'm really putting together the right strategies for that. I bought a 7-unit commercial strip center this year. I'm building my development business better, and so that's the kind of stuff that's exciting for me. But having financial freedom is where I want to be.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And be able to provide for my kids and family and give them options.
Yeah, and just you said something that resonated with me, right? The roles with the surfboard hangout. That's how I've always been, right? Have a Ferrari, and you know what? That's if my kids get peanut butter and jelly on my beautiful Italian leather. That's all right. Right? I'd rather I don't care. That's all right. So listen, we always ask for a book recommendation. So here's the setup, man. I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
So, aspiring agent, what book? Okay, so I think
no Gary Keller books.
Go ahead. Yeah. No, I understand. So I would say, in the beginning of my career, I listened and read a lot of Brian Tracy books regarding goals, goal setting, and finding out, what my why was. Because in the beginning, when you start out, you don't really. I mean, I think for a lot of agents, inspiring, whether they're young or they're starting out, whatever, they don't have a lot of drive, or not drive, but they don't really know a lot of that as far as goal setting. So a lot of Brian Tracy's, books have been great. What I'm listening to now is a little bit different from what it was then. Now I'm about more real heavy into business books. And I've got, and just like you and everyone else, we got on our Audible, I've got a ton of different books. But, just to add on real quick, I mean, Rocket Fuel is a great book right now. I just recently read. It's about a visionary and an integrator. If you're the visionary of the team, have an integrator coming in. 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, I'm reading right now. And then all the other stuff, I'm listening. I'm probably listening to 4 or 5 different books at any time. So, I mean, there's some ones I'm up to right now.
It's funny. I almost asked you earlier, and I didn't, because you were alluding. You had all this stuff, consistency and habit. Have you read The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg?
Yeah. I put this way. I haven't read the whole thing. I've been in and out of it before. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm in the middle of that one right now. It was so funny I'll tell you a quick story. 2 weeks ago when we were in Tahoe at Go Abundance, David Osborne mentioned that book on stage. The next morning, I was in the lobby and I was reading it, and I saw David. I was like, David, here's the book. He's like, yeah. And then we fly out of there, right? And I took it, like I took a shuttle from Squaw Valley back to Reno to fly home, and I sat in the front seat with the driver, and I had the book on my lap, okay? And I left it, the bottom line is I left it in the van. Now, it just so happened, and I got back home and I was like, crap, I got to order another one. And I told my wife, I was like, I lost my book, I got to order another one. And it just so, people send me stuff all the time, man. I'll go out to my mailbox, I'll find, people send me gifts, they send me all sorts of crap. The next day, man, I go to my mailbox and guess what? Somebody had sent me a hardcover of The Power of Habit. And I was like, oh, the universe is talking to me, man.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Love it.
That was weird. All right. So look,
love it.
Here's the last question, Jeff. And you kind of answered it, but I want to ask it again. And I think I might know your answer, but I think it's important for everybody to know this. What is the habit that you have that you feel has contributed to your success? Or do you have a habit you feel has contributed to success?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, getting back kind of what I said is just, first, okay. So being consistent, right? I mentioned that before. And then the habit of being competitive. So the competitiveness in me drives me and is still it gets me fired up every day. So I'm competitive, and that's been a big success for me. If you don't have a competitiveness in you, and you just don't really, you're just kind of I don't know if the word would be being complacent or okay with the status quo.
Yeah.
It's tough. What I always say is this. I say to my team, I said, it's hard to, everyone says, oh, I'm just coasting. Well, can you coast uphill?
Right.
Right? Doesn't happen. So I think that being consistent and being competitive.
And I agree with you, man. And I think for typically for guys like you and I, being competitive gets a little bit tough. At least in my world, historically, has been a little bit tough because I've not really had any peers. I've always been, in terms of people my age, I've always been more successful than they are. And it's only been recently for me with this show and with groups like Abundance where, I've been able to hang around and meet guys my age that are really, really competing at a high level that has really stoked my fires. I mean, I'm pumped up for 2016. It's mainly because, I get to hang out with guys like you and all the guys that Go Abundance and go, man, that guy's worth $25 million. Like, I'm not there yet, and then that's a whole nother thing of, do I want to be a $50 million guy or not? Me and David have had that conversation a ton, right? Is it for him? Is it 100 million, which he's going to hit, or is it $1 billion? Anyhow. Okay, man, look, that's it. I know I always encourage people, Jeff, that, if they've gotten anything out of this, to reach out and say thank you to you. And as we said at the top of the show, you're always looking for talent. So where can people find you, Jeff?
So they can either call me direct, 609-398-JEFF, which is 609-398-5333. Email me, jeff@thequintingroup.com.
Holy crap, man. Sorry, Jeff. That's such a good radio number.
Isn't that good?
That is good. That is really good, man. You should be doing radio with that kind of phone number, pal.
I know, right?
For sure. All right. I'm not trying to get you radio. All right, buddy. That's it, man. Thanks for showing up. I know it's late in your day and you've been on the phone all day, so I appreciate you coming out and spending another hour with me and my audience.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful to be here and be part of the show. And however I can help support anybody, let me know. And however I can support you, I appreciate you, man.
Awesome, buddy. Me too. All right, later.
Thank you. Bye.
Let's go.